To craft any masterpiece or any design, it's important to know about the elements of fashion design, because having knowledge about these elements just takes your garment from looking basic to something that is like, wow. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel once again. If you are very interested in being a self-taught designer, or you are interested in fashion and you want to learn more, you want to upgrade your skills as a designer, please subscribe to this channel. My channel is fairly new and I'm needing your help in order to grow and continue to post more educative content like this for you guys. The very first element that we'll be talking about is line. I know line sounds really uninteresting, but it is the very basis of everything in design. All elements, whether shape, space, they all are created from line. Line is the outline in which any design or any garment follows. Line comes in different ways. There are straight lines, diagonal lines, curved lines, as you know, and zigzag lines. Lines can come in any shape or any form.
So with line, you can see how this design is created, distinctively with lines, and clearly so, because you can see the white lines running through the metallics, and you can see it being repeated over and over and over all through the design. This is a good example of how lines can influence a design. Well, let's go in for another example. Some lines can help influence shape, while some can influence the design overall. Some lines could just be darts, they could be pleats, but their purpose is to just shape the garment, create an entirely different design. Look at this skirt, for instance, that is made up of pleats. This is a good example of line being used as an element of design. You can see how, let me take it to the larger screen. You can see how the pleats, these are accordion pleats. You can see how the pleats are repetitive, and really it's the pleats that makes for this design. So this is an example of when line can be the design in itself, without any other influence. Let's take a look at more examples of lines so that you can get a full grasp of what I'm talking about. Sometimes line can be created through different decorative patterns, different decorative measures. Can be created through beading. Look at this nicely embellished gown, this nicely embellished evening gown. You can see how the lines make for the design and how it's a mix of some diagonal lines, some curved lines. You can see how the curved lines around the hip give the illusion of, the figure 8. You can see how lines were used along the sleeves. So this is an example, also a good example of how, lines can be created through embroidery or beading. I really like scrolling through Pinterest a lot because you get a lot of ideas from there. Seeing a lot of creative work. But these days it seems like Pinterest is a lot polluted with AI images, which is sad, but what are we going to do in this AI world? Look at this cocktail dress. This dress was really viral online at some point. Look at the lines on this dress, for instance. It's a diagonal line mixed with curved lines and pleats. This is not a very clear picture, but let me show you anyways. So look at this dress, for instance. Also really a perfect depiction of what line can do in a design. Look at how, I think these are like braided pieces of fabric. that were used to create the texture on the design. But the picture is not so clear, but you can see how the line runs through it, from the shoulder straight down to right below the hips. You can see how it creates this slimming effect.
The next element of design we're talking about is shape. Shape is the outline of any garment or any design, and it is what you see, how the form and the garment appears to look like. So shape can be inspired from different cultures, inspired from different woods, depending on what the designer intends.
Shape is the outline or the silhouette of an object, Just looking at it up front, it's the shape. I don't want to use the word shape for defining shape. That's crazy. It's the outline of a design, what it looks like overall. And shapes are really used by designers to express moods and to express, styles and like different cultures. And really, it's just whatever the designer intends, This is a good depiction of shape, but it's also a good depiction of line because you can see how the stripes on this suit runs through from the shoulder all the way down. And an interesting detail I'm even noting right now is how exactly the lines running through the jacket of this suit are almost, at perfect stance with the ones running through the trouser. If you look closely at each of the line, you can see that. Well, you can see the shape of this suit, how the broad shoulders, the cinched waist, the bulky arms kind of create a certain mood to tell you that this is a more dominant, outfit. You can see a combination of both traditionally masculine features and traditionally feminine features being merged and mixed together with the cinched waist, which is usually what we're seeing in the corsets these days, and cinched waist in women's outfit being merged with broad shoulder suits, strong, heavily padded shoulders. This is a good example of how shape can be used to influence the design. I think I have another interesting outfit. Well, in the 1940s, Dior was known for this kind of like hourglass shape, which is almost very similar to the suit I just showed you. How the outfit is categorized by strong shoulders and like an extremely cinched waist, and a flowing pleated skirt. So this is a great example of how shape also influences design, because you can see how the shape forms in sort of an hourglass shape, from the top all the way to the bottom. Look at the interesting shape of this outfit. So what does this outfit like? What kind of message do you think the designer is trying to pass with this outfit? Very structured, very futuristic. Let me show it again. Very structured. Look at those shoulders. Look at the diagonal line running from the mid waist all the way down below the hips. This is also a perfect example. Zana is probably trying to show us an immaculate collection. You can see how innocent in a way, yet vulgar, yet powerful.
The next element of design is form. Well, we've talked about line and shape. And those two elements are two-dimensional elements. Form is a three-dimensional element, and it just basically tells you how a garment occupies space and the shape of the garment and the movement of the garment in relation to the human body. Form is basically how all these elements come together and appear to look, the physical manifestation of what it appears to look like on the human form or the human figure.
Form is what really brings depth to an outfit, and it's the physical manifestation of any design concept. So how does your design, the important questions that you would ask yourself as a designer when considering form as an element of design is that, how does your garment occupy space? How does your garment moves in relation to the human figure? What is the shape? How does your garment interact with the human figure? Look at this interesting Comme des Garçons. Look at how chaotic yet really planned this outfit really looks. Look at how the form is in relation to the human body. This is against what the regular human form. Looking at this piece from Comme des Garçons, look at how this skirt interacts with the shape. You can see there's not a lot of movement to be expected from this outfit, because in fact we're not seeing it in motion, but we can tell that not a lot of movement is expected from it. It's not flowy, it's just stiff. So every single thing, every single fold, every single element was planned to just remain as it is. There's no movement whatsoever in this outfit. This is a regular corset asoebi outfit. And this follows, you can see this is completely different from the Comme des Garçons design. This follows a particular form, and it follows the form of the wearer, the form of the woman who's wearing it. Look at the shape it gives the person. This is not shapeless like what I just showed you previously. This is more form fitting to the figure. So you really need to think about these things as a designer. If you are designing something, do you want it to be something that is against the form? Do you want it to be something that is against the natural human form, or do you want it to be something that follows the particular form of the person which is wearing this design? So those are really two distinct examples of what form is.
The fourth element of design is texture. Well, texture is pretty broad, especially when you consider fabric and textile. And I'll be doing an entirely different series on that. I'm doing a whole series on that because it's an entirely different course in fashion design. What I can tell you about texture for now is that it exists in three forms. So there is the visual texture, and visual texture, as the name connotes, is just really how a textile appears to look like just by looking at it physically. Some textile might have luster or shine. Some textile might look more matte just by looking at them alone. Then there is the actual texture. And the actual texture is how a fabric or a textile feels to the touch. How it feels to the touch. Does it feel smooth? Does it feel smooth and silky? Does it have grains as you touch? Is it rough? Is it abrasive? The third form in which texture can occur is the simulated texture. So simulated texture is a situation where the physical appearance of the textile or fabric doesn't match the feel of the fabric. There are some fabrics that when you see them, they look very lustrous and soft and smooth. But when you touch them, they're a little bit more coarse than you'd expected. So those are simulated textiles.
Designers always use texture to evoke some sensory response, and they always pick a certain fabric to give a certain feel or to give a certain look to an outfit. So actual texture or tactile texture is how a fabric feels to the touch. Look at this brocade or jacquard first. Look at the how it looks. Look at how it looks, because looking at how it looks would kind of give you an idea of how it feels. If you've ever felt brocade before, you can see how this raised parts that have a floral feel is not always very smooth. It's not smooth or silky in the way that most satin fabrics would feel like. You can still feel the roughness of these textures on the fabric. This is an actual textile because you can feel, when you touch it, you can feel how those raised floral details on it are. Let's look for another example too. So look at this beautiful evening gown. So look at this beautiful evening gown. Look at the main bodies of the dress. It's beaded, and completely and fully embellished. And you can see how the texture of the top completely even looks and feels different from texture. Look at a silk satin used for the bottom part of the dress, and usually this is a very soft and really lustrous and silky material. So when you touch it, when you feel it, it feels a certain way and it feels different. So another kind of texture is visual texture. Like you could basically do a collection or design a dress just based off what the fabric looks like. Look at how shiny and lustrous and luxurious this satin at the bottom looks. It really elevates the design. And really depends on what you're going for as a designer. Your fabric choice really depends on what you're going for as a designer. There's a third category to texture, and that is simulated texture. And simulated texture is when the visual representation of your design and the physical feel of the design, they don't match. Like there's some fabrics you just like, if you're so used to going to fabric stores to like shop, you would really understand what I'm talking about, because there are some fabrics that once you see them immediately, you're like, I can imagine what this would feel like. But when you actually touch them to feel them, realize that, you can't reconcile what you thought it to be. Look at this beautiful design, probably inspired by the moon. I mean, definitely inspired by the moon, you could tell. But like, what fabric would you think that this was made from? Like it's even, I mean, it's even more difficult now because you're just looking at the picture of it. But if you were to feel the fabric, it will feel strange. It wouldn't feel like a satin. This is definitely not. It wouldn't feel like, anything that is regular to you.
The fifth element of design is color. And guys, this has to be the most fun aspect of fashion because, well, color is an entire world on its own to explore. So I'm going to be doing a separate series on color theory for fashion designers. But before we go into that, the very thing you need to know about color here is that color is what evokes emotion and, gives attention to design. So color is really important in design. Imagine if everything around us were just bland in just black and white without color. That would be very boring. So color is really what brings your art or your design to life at the end of the day.
As a designer, you really need to give yourself free room to experiment with color. As a designer, you keep learning every day. You have to, be ready to fail many, many, many times. You have to experiment a ton because it's really important to your design process. So, some designers have been able to use color as a powerful tool for their brands. There are brands that for a particular color. Let's talk about Valentino, for instance. We see collection upon collection. I just typed Valentino red on Pinterest and you can see how it floods everywhere. So some designers just have figured out a way to use color to make their brands stand out. Like this red is already known to be Valentino red, and it's the same thing for so many other fashion brands as well. Just look at, there is hardly any collection that Valentino would come out with and you wouldn't see this red, at least one piece, at least two pieces in their collection. Look at their most recent Le Cool collection. I really love this collection. It's just impossible not to see red being, this particular shade of red being used in their designs. Okay, guys, so that's about my visual explanation for you guys today. Please comment if you have any questions. I'm ready to answer. If there's anything you're not really clear about, just ask me questions in the comment and I'll respond to them. So thank you so much, guys. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.